Hi there, it's Nick Dutch back on the camera again one more time. Hi there, how the heck's it going? It's almost like I've turned that into a word in its own right, isn't it? Just picking some sounds or some ideas and throwing them together in a manner which kind of like makes some sense, and then applying some kind of meaning to it, and then using that in a constructive way through a certain creative medium for the purposes of having a particular effect upon people. Actually, relatively easy, you might say. Relatively speaking. But of course, when people do that, the message itself can get distorted. People can draw their own conclusions as to what that particular phrase or that particular idea actually means or really means, or the hidden meaning of, if you get my drift. People add meanings to things, okay, and then they react emotionally to the meanings that are applied to it. An individual has posted a couple of responses, video responses, to some videos I've done on the subject of anti-theism, or indeed the way in which I perceived anti-theism to be. I've got to clarify a few things. I don't object to atheists at all. I don't object to atheism at all. The world is full of people who have found their own interpretation of what life is about, or the meaning of life, or what is genuine, honest, and important in life. And that's fine. You found a way which suits you. I don't share every single part of it, but I find some resonance between myself and those who are genuine free thinkers, or genuine seekers of the truth, shall we say. And those are people who are both religious and those who are non-religious. But within any particular social group, there will always, no matter which changes you make to which social movements are in existence, those who take an unsavory political stance based upon certain words or certain ideas or certain symbols, and so on and so forth. It is part of one's role within a civilized and democratic society such as my own, in order to, make sure that, I suppose, peace can reign, that one expresses what one disagrees with. And unfortunately, or fortunately, sometimes that can be misunderstood. Within every group, there is what could be loosely regarded or loosely called evil, whether they are Christian, atheist, pagan, Wiccan, spiritual healers, Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Muslims, all groups. Because all of these titles mean nothing apart from maybe certain cultural references or certain central characters or some central themes which are associated with those titles somehow. It could be language or use of language, it could be words or buzzwords. But within all these groups there are various and varied ideas which one could roughly regard as being highly undesirable. In my videos against the subject of anti-theism, was I necessarily talking about anyone who is anti-theists or theism? It is interesting to me that some individuals take these titles and use them as if they are placards to convey certain forms of messages which are undesirable. I find this disturbing, and those views which are undesirable I feel free to call undesirable. In some of my videos I have not necessarily taken the whatever period of time it would be it 1 minute, 5 minutes, 45 minutes, or 5.5 hours, to explain precisely which groups within this particular title I dislike, and why I dislike them. there is within me an instinct against things which are overtly, harshly, and politically against spirituality of various different types. Because I feel, personally, that spirituality and religion can in fact be used in a very positive way. For those of you who are aware, I have started going to a church. I feel a certain quantity of pride that the church itself is incredibly plain, requires relatively low maintenance, and large chunks of the donation money goes to literally feeding the poor and homeless. My presence there and my small donations don't only help that particular building to stay up, but they also do some real charitable good. There are many other ways on the personal, psychological, and emotional level in which I get some forms of benefits from it. I am not a literalist, because I can't be. I don't have it in me to be a literalist. I don't even give a shit whether Jesus Christ was the Son of God. I don't even give a shit whether God exists the way that anyone describes it or defines it. I consider personal higher power concepts to be a little more important, whether they are moral codes, which I have chosen to adopt out of my own reasoning and not necessarily because it appeared in any text or any particular YouTube video, to be more important. And I personally consider the purpose of this for me psychologically to be providing me with a good, orderly direction, especially when I undergo an awful lot of emotional and psychological strain with the work that I do. So it's important for my work for me to be a balanced, civilized, respectful, and respectable individual, so it does me some good. Maybe this good can in fact be spread to more and more people. Admittedly, there will be many people who, despite the fact they have already taken some form of religiosity or spirituality, etc., would still be complete and utter assholes, or possibly still under the influence of drink, or drugs, or crime, or a pathogenic personality. And so, as a total therapeutic solution, it certainly would not be perfect. But as an addition to other forms of therapy for those people, it would probably be valuable, but certainly not a complete cure. It appears that there is an anti-theist, or so-called, in inverted commas, air quotes, anti-theist movement, which has a more liberal and progressive agenda than those who are purely coming out with the hate attitude. Although I have not fully researched their ideas, it would appear that they object to certain key policies of certain key bodies. I would say that that would be a very good way of continuing action, and it would be worthwhile to continue action in that way. However, what else does the term anti-theism mean to people who regard themselves as anti-theistic? And if this is against a spiritual or a religious belief, what is the point in objecting to it? Because spiritual and religious beliefs are normally not manifested in the physical world. Admittedly, there are some strong and unpleasant political views which are promoted within certain religious organizations, whose job, so it would appear, is more to back up certain political parties than it is necessarily to actually do people any good. But are their ideas based upon religion, or are they based upon politics? Now, I feel that this is a distinction which should be made clear. And maybe a lot of the attacks should be actually against the politics which goes into these ideas, rather than necessarily the spirituality which is being twisted for the purposes of political gain. These are just some opinions from the mind of Nick Dutch today. I bid you, as ever, good fortune and God bless.